So we'll start with our topic today. So thank you everyone for joining on this session, and I would like to thank BW for giving me an opportunity to host this session. So there are two aspects on this one: opportunity and trends in Indian automotive industry. So opportunity, when we say, obviously a lot of AI is coming, a lot of IoT is happening, a lot of different technologies are coming, a lot of EVs are happening, and second is trends. So trend, we say, is a product market fit, so that we can see that this trend is happening, this trend is accepted by people. So we'll break this into two parts. So one is opportunity and second is like trends. So first I would like to ask one question to Arindam sir. So Arindam sir is the CEO of Automotive Skills Development Council, which is the backbone for you can say for automotive industry, because they give those skill set to labor, and without labor we can't grow, right? So the first question to you is the opportunity when we see in Indian markets. So are we having that much of competency, skill set to fulfill those gaps of labors wise, you can say, or you can say technology wise? Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, BW, for having me as part of this panel. As today technology changes and changes very fast, one of the huge catch-up that the training and education side of the world always struggles with is how do you catch up with this constant change, and which ones are the trends which actually are going to need more manpower. So, for example, since everyone talks about EV, and I was hearing about the last panel when we were discussing about EVs. Around 2019, when I became part of this organization, one of the key focus that was talked to us was about providing manpower for electric vehicles. But there was very little adoption at that point in time. And we were kind of debating whether to offer this kind of program or not. But we started a little bit, and of course COVID came, and then, obviously training, in these kind of disruptions, training always suffers a lot. But post-COVID, we've seen a tremendous trajectory in terms of adoption of electric vehicles, and suddenly we've also seen that there is a lot of requirement of skilled manpower required for that kind of achievement. Thankfully, because we had already worked on the back end in terms of getting ourselves prepared, today we've been ready with 10 different courses in different elements of the different parts of the value chain of EV, where we are offering training. But when it comes to training, especially when we talk about new technology, the biggest challenge comes in terms of the infrastructure, both the hard infrastructure for training and the academia needs to work well, because the academia has the students or the learners from their side, which is the supply side, and industry has the demand side or the knowledge side in terms of knowing exactly what is required out of these people whom they want to hire. Now the key challenge that we have existing in our system today is that the closeness with which these two entities work together is not that great. And one of the key tasks that we have as a council is how do we come in and ensure a seamless meeting of the two entities, because the language spoken by the two sides are always little different. And we need to ensure that we become like an interpreter to that two different language speakers to ensure that both achieve their goals. And that's the purpose that we do.
So I think we have Reeti from Mahindra. So I think we can connect with Reeti for that, because she can start, like as a Mahindra, I can say they can start training.
Mahindra is a great example. Mahindra and Tata, are some of these organizations which invest a lot in terms of training and opening up that training for even learners for our overall ecosystem impact. But more and more organizations need to be really part of it actually.
So, like the second panelist we have, which is Sankalp from IBM. So, thank you Sankalp for joining us here. So, like you see what opportunity in terms of AI and IoT we have from the IBM. Obviously, IBM is one of the biggest player in the ecosystem. So, your thought on opportunities in terms of connecting automotive with AI, ML, and IoT and other stuff.
Firstly, thanks for calling us one of the biggest players. Let me first, for the larger audience here as well as people online, the beauty of technology lies in the simplicity of the terms, yet they sound to be profound. Okay? So I'll quickly break into what do we mean by big data, what do we mean by AI, and how technology players are coming into picture in the ecosystem. Okay? So when an uncontrolled volume of data, be it structured, unstructured, comes at a very high velocity. That is something which we know as big data sets. Now, how organizations tap into this data? And by the way, I personally believe data is the digital gold in today's era. I mean, from gold to liquid gold and to the digital gold, we have seen a transformation on this, right? So, the sources of data in the automotive industry, the vehicle itself, a typical connected vehicle in today's era, roughly around 25 terabytes of data is generated every day. Okay? That's the volume of data we are speaking about. In the shop floor, if you see manufacturing, okay? Be it the operator, be it the machines, or be it the entire factory itself, that generates multiples of terabytes of data. Now, how we tap this data, utilize this raw data to generate actionable insights that brings value add to the organization is something where players like IBM pitch in. Okay? So the crux lies in how we get the data first, okay? And that is where the technology Internet of Things comes in. Okay? So we spoke about big data, which is the volume of data. Now tapping that data, getting it from these sources is through the Internet of Things, wherein you have sensors, devices, there are multiple sources to pull in the data. The data is stored in cloud, wherein it's handled and analyzed. On top of it are built the AI-enabled analytics. That is how insights are drawn, and then suggested that as an improvement. It would be more simpler if I take an example. So, as a product, we have something which is known as Intelligent Automotive Manufacturing Advisory. So a lay person, a shop floor operator, maybe skilled, semi-skilled, we spoke just about skilling. How do we empower a person enough so that he can operate on any machine uninterrupted? Okay? When we say uninterrupted, get the crux, what we are trying to say is your efficiency and production optimization are at the peak. The machines do not stop. So the operators are trained through virtual assistants. There are things like virtual assist where operators can directly connect to a chatbot or a voice bot, get to know whether the machine is functioning right or wrong, any parameters that have to be changed. The intelligent advisor in itself detects if there is any malfunctioning, provides those inputs and prevents things like catastrophic stoppage in between, safety to the worker, at the same time preventive maintenance, okay? Predictive and preventive maintenance. So it's just an example for one of the elements of the entire value chain of the automobile. Right from your sourcing of material up to the consumer, technology is shaping it in a way that we now call vehicles as software defined. Yeah, so I take a pause on the technology part here and looking forward to your questions.
Yeah. So thank you very much for sharing these insights. Obviously, these technology differences will create a good manpower. Technology will create a affordability also for OEMs. Will reduce the costage of machines and everything. So going to Reeti, Reeti is from Mahindra and Mahindra. So Reeti, I would want to know Mahindra has been a pioneer in making SUV vehicles. now they shifted their gears towards electric vehicles. So where do you see Mahindra going and what do you think opportunities in coming into EV industry? Please your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Sure, thanks everyone. Afternoon and thanks for having me. Yeah, we have been pioneers and especially various technology. We always try to innovate and bring innovations to the automotive industry. And that's one reason like why we can't keep as a team because 2025 is when we bring this totally new category of SUVs or propulsion category, electric for sure, but it's definitely a new category creating several vehicles and they're just not mobility piece, they are the gold piece of technology. So, on your next part of where we're seeing EVs and how the consumers are reacting to that. While planning our vehicles, we observe 4 key consumer cycles. So, starting with, actually we all represent today's consumers, and some of us are consumers tomorrow as well. And we all know that we are super tech obsessed. And because of that, we're consuming a lot of information. We have holistic perspectives on various topics. So we are much more globally aware. And because of that, we are environmentally conscious as well. We have this passion for the planet. The second piece was that we all have now become bold in our aspirations, we are ambitious. If you look at the India story itself, we are so proud about it. We have this faith in the future, and the third part, of course, is that we've got totally accustomed to individualized lifestyle experience. So look at these and as our consumers evolve. I think AI definitely has a role. The consumer is trying to help and personalization. So no more it's just memory stick. Now the car evolves with you.
That is it.
You got a car today, but tomorrow it's a new car. Or if you sell it, it's another. That's how it is. And then obviously it helps with decoding the new market trends. So we get to know like, okay, these are the trends, these are the features which are liking. You want to switch it on or die off or die down and certain things. Even geography wise, definitely some geography needs and some don't. So depending on that, some consumers are willing to pay more for something. So AI helps with decoding these patterns and helps us set what kind of new products we want to make. And of course then more and more, but there's predictive maintenance and there's safety angle for sure. ADAS, which becomes so common today, is like level 2 autonomy already, progressing towards more autonomy. As we spoke about big data. So many sensors gather so much data in split seconds, the decisions are made. So yeah, there is totally, this is an exciting space and I am looking forward to this.
So thank you for sharing all this information about the roadmap of EV industry. But like being an audience, I can have a couple of questions on this one because I'm sure that my questions, you will also have those questions in mind. So one of the questions which I have in mind is EV infrastructure. Everyone talks about EV infrastructure. So do you think all the OEMs should come together and share the platform with each other, share the battery pack, similar battery pack like in Europe, all the mobile charger has to be seen. So that's why even Apple had to change it. So similarly, if we have similar battery for car, it is swappable battery, and even the charging station, and develop that sharing basis. So do you have any knowledge, like if you are in talk with different OEM and they are sharing all that together?
Yeah, definitely it will be beneficial for the overall industry to standardize.
So yeah, that is beneficial, but is there any talk with the government that we should share that stage together, that charging infrastructure?
I'm not sure if it's reached that stage or scale where we are talking about.
So I think it's still early stage, that's why.
I think we are talking about charging standardization. And, because at the end, some of these elements would be commoditized, and the key differentiator would be, as he said, the software defined variable, which actually gives you that kind of experience. So it is okay for us to have that shared platform powertrain platform, especially unless we that piece has.
So moving on to Mr. Amit Kumar. So Amit Kumar is our marketing director for Netradyne Technologies. So obviously Netradyne Technology pioneered making AI software for drivers and for their habits and all. So what exactly do you see the future in those technology in AI for you?
Thank you so much for having us here. We are a tech company. Now, to answer the question, we have to take a step back. India as a country is struggling with number of accidents. No one typically talks about it, but we're losing about 800 lives every day, which is a massive number, about 1.68 lakh per year. Those are the number of lives we are losing every year on the road because of road accidents. Now, what are the reasons behind these accidents? Study says that more than 90% of accidents are the result of human error. That means if a human was alerted and could avoid that error, those accidents would be avoided. And we would save some of those lives if not all. Now, AI plays a big role, especially in a country like India, where the skill set of drivers is so diverse. I'm not sure I can use the word diverse or not, because a large part of our driver's community is way below par when it comes to global driving standards.
Speech, speech
Now, on top of it, we cannot have enforcement by police. Do we know how many traffic cops we have on the road in India? Less than 80,000. So we have got about 80,000 cops on the road managing such a large population of vehicles. Now that is not really possible. So now how do you make it possible to educate these drivers as well as enforce the traffic rules? That's where we believe that technology can play a big role. Right? We all are aware about ADAS, and some of us use it as well, and I know that actually pioneer in that space. But when it comes to the larger set of vehicles, it has still not reached that stage. Now, where we see this getting bigger, now this can play a big role in monitoring the driver from two aspects. One, the external ecosystem. The ecosystem of the road where you are driving, whether it includes roads, other vehicles, objects, construction sites, cows, dogs, which become a big reason, right? AI can detect all of it. Now the other aspect is inside the vehicle, me as a driver. I was coming to this hotel in the morning from the airport, and my cab overtook 6 DTC buses. ladies and gentlemen, I saw 4 of them were using mobile phone while driving on the road. Driving. They were not stopped, they were driving. Now that's the behavior that leads to an accident, right? So, plus another thing called highway hypnosis. All of us might have heard about it. Now the highways are becoming so smooth, so good, right? You can drive for hours and hours without really applying the brake. Now you can get into a zone where you don't realize that you're feeling drowsy or you are in your sounder zone. So now, that's another area where AI detects the human, whether you're distracted, you're fatigued, drowsy, using mobile phone, do not have the seat belt buckled up. So all these behaviors in real time we track and alerted in case of any probable violation that can lead to an accident. So now that's the current state that we have. Of course, exactly, that's a good point. Right? Now, where do we see it can go? So for AI to work, data is the real gold mine as I spoke about. Now the data comes from the amount of hours that you feed it into that system. That's number one. I think number two where we can go and we will go is the connected vehicle ecosystem. Now the vehicles can talk with each other and provide data real time that okay, this is the situation, you may want to avoid this. Right? There's a construction site happening, right? There's a fog, one vehicle has hit another vehicle, you may want to slow down or maybe pull it over. So this should take the game to the next level when it comes to safety around AI and ML and the good news is that a lot of these technologies are also available as an aftermarket solution which can be installed in the larger part of vehicles where we may not have ADAS inbuilt as of now or driver monitoring systems.
So do you see any opportunity in terms of B2G option like government buses should have these facilities? Like I remember going to European countries and the bus driver tapping his license before starting the vehicle and then every 3 hours he has to take a break or he'll be fined if police catches him. And also one system has been installed in this vehicle that how good he is driving. So is he changing lanes or what is his average speed limit and how hard he is braking? Obviously those data is coming into place. So do you see the government approving this kind of a technology and promoting to obviously into their own first so that it comes as a RTO regulations?
So I'm sure we'll get there. European Commission has mandated that all new vehicles have to have these kind of technologies installed in all new vehicles starting from the middle of this year. That means driver drowsiness detection, reversing, and all those. There are a number of features that are mandated in Europe already.
Even drink and drive. Yeah, even I think they smoke detector or something is there.
I'm not aware whether it's mandated.
Number change master.
And India, we talk about India per se. There was a regulation, there was a guidance in the early part of last year, which went to all the transport commissioners. It says that every commercial vehicle operator has to measure the driving score of every driver. Not has to, should, because it was a guidance. And the way our government is going, the way we see more Niti Aayog heavily focused on it, I'm sure we will have these regulations very soon, and that's when I would see that some of the new age OEMs will start providing these technologies ahead of time. But it may become a mandate at some point, like we have helmet, like we have seatbelt, like we have airbags and all that.
Thank you. So my next question to obviously Mahindra, I'll ask because there is a lot of infrastructure getting developed on the road. So roads are widening, like you can see Sankalp Express Highway, Mumbai, Nagpur. Many accidents are happening due to vehicle being not fit. So do you feel that the government also should, or as a OEM also should bring fitness test mandatory for each vehicle? So that obviously we are talking about opportunity, but opportunity should not come for a cost. Because obviously we are enforcing all the good changes in the vehicle. Now the vehicle can run at a speed of 200 easily on those roads. Even roads are designed like that. But if vehicles are not fit, because in India, you'll agree with me that 75% of the car owners are first time car owners. Like we have first time entrepreneurs, so it's like a first time car owner. Like my father never had a car, so I am having a car. So, but I don't know how to maintain those vehicles. So, do you think that this opportunity also should come in that area?
Change your
Okay, so let me think about
Change.
this. With the new kind of vehicles that we are seeing, you yourself were mentioning that how PUC becomes a
Yes.
challenge with hybrid
Yes.
cars, and so you know what we can do in such cases, especially EVs being a catalyst in terms of making a car more software driven, where we have so many sensors and information on different key components of the cars. You know, we can understand and predict proactively what parts are going to fail,
Yes.
or what part needs a change, and you know, there is over-the-air capabilities which without even going to a dealership can be fixed, and even easily for especially the first time drivers, as you were saying.
Right.
So that's one way to fix things. Another way I feel is through just how we have, you know, ratings, credit ratings. We can have, you know, driving behavior ratings, and basis that one can define your insurance premium, and that's a way to, you know, fine people as well, or it can be connected in some way with government database and this sort of entity. So yeah, there are innovative ways one must think, and the OEMs who have started working in this direction. So I'm sure it's not just electric is a start, as I said, and all this can happen irrespective of propulsion system, because at the end it's the software, hardware, platform architecture that can enable this kind of capabilities. So I think, yeah, there are ways to train and change behaviors and avoid such kind of accidents.
So last question before going on to question and answer sessions to Mr. Arindam sir. So obviously we see that disruption is happening in EV, but disruption, like, are we ready to repair those vehicles? Do we have that kind of manpower, that skilled manpower to handle that disruption? Because now every company is selling new vehicles, but when it comes to service, obviously our aftermarket player or the new player have been equipped with those kind of knowledge, and what trend do you see in that?
Yeah, I think that's a very key concern. Generally, you know, and not only electric vehicles, I think even non-electric vehicles across categories have become very sophisticated.
All new vehicles are also
Yeah, so if you look at commercial vehicles or even at the other end of the spectrum, two-wheelers, with stricter safety norms, with stricter, emission norms, etc., there have been some changes. Customer preferences have been changing, and customer is demanding more out of those vehicles. They want not only a mobility from point A to point B, but also an experience of that ride, essentially. So we are seeing adoption of, like you're saying, ADAS autonomy level 2 is becoming quite natural. All the new versions of vehicles that are now coming in are seeing that kind of an adoption. Connected vehicles was quite a fancy just about probably a year and a half back, but today I think we see more and more of those coming in. And it's also there is this cost element which is kind of coming down in terms of the hardware cost, etc. So there is a big challenge that we are facing in terms of what you rightly mentioned in terms of the independent aftermarket situation. So as a council, as a skill council, one of our priority is to look at this segment, because when we talk about the authorized dealership manpower, typically the OEMs do the training, retraining and everything else. So they are much more prepared to deal with it, but a significant number of vehicles, especially in categories like two-wheelers, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, the vehicle goes beyond the authorized service network. So retraining of those manpower is one focus area that we have. We are trying to do it with funding available from various government initiatives as well as with CSR initiative, and I would definitely urge more and more industry to think about utilizing these their CSR, a share of their CSR funds to look at how do we enable existing manpower to protect their livelihood. Because if we don't help them, make that transition and that learning, they will be out of their livelihoods in some years to come, and especially the younger workforce out of that. The B part is the kind of manpower who are coming fresh into the workforce. How do we ensure that our curriculum and our training in the academic institutions or training institutions, whether it is an ITI or a diploma college or an independent training center, provides the necessary wherewithal with the people. We are still pretty focused in terms of delivering the mechanical side of service training, because that's been there for ages, and a lot of trainers are available to do that, a lot of facilities are available to do that. But when it comes to electrical and electronic side of things, there is a lot of, and I remember, when I started early in my life with Maruti, one of the first things that I learned when I was buying my vehicle, one of my colleagues said that the moment somebody touches the electric connections in your car, please resell the car, वो तो गया, because किसी ने कोई उसको खराब ही कर देता. So that situation about 30 years back, I don't think has substantially changed. Of course, the vehicles have become much more complex in today's case. You have so much sensors, so much electronics in it. So this is definitely one area that we need to focus and remain focused on. Otherwise, users will find car buying, post buying the car, the experience not to be very smooth and enjoyable, so to say.
So the second part, when we say what are the opportunity one we see in life, so everybody is talking about in the morning first two session is about hydrogen vehicle being launched. I think even recently I had seen one of the news that when European manufacturers are also ready with that one. So do you see any R&D is being done in India with all the OEMs in place? Especially now, I am proud to say that we have some made in India vehicles which are owned by Indians, like Tata and Mahindra and all. So do you see that enough research is being done on to meet global leaders?
Hydrogen is touted as the fuel of future, and we are seeing even the Indian government actively pushing this another alternative fuel as part of their sustainable energy solution. So sure, it's got that potential, but of course there are certain challenges. It's pretty early in its stage today. We need to sort out the overall efficiency of hydrogen-based vehicles because there are energy losses at various points from well to wheel. And then of course there is the cost effectiveness element. It's pretty expensive, and deploying the right infrastructure. So I am positive about hydrogen serving various applications, including transportation. But I think on transportation side, initially we should start off with heavy commercial vehicles, given the need of longer ranges and quicker refueling, and we can also afford to have that kind of space and size that fuel cells demand. So
we are still early at the stage.
Sure, we should start off with that segment, and then as we innovate and invest more on this alternate fuel, I think there will be more spaces created for other applications as well.
So thank you everyone for this session. We have no more questions, so you can take it offline. Yes, please. Thank you. So we have time tested. There is another panel also. So.